guys, I'm Chris. Welcome to this week's tutorial. Let's draw together. In this week's tutorial, we'll be drawing a female face in Procreate, and I'm sure you can create this too if you follow along with the video to the end. If you feel rushed, be sure to hit that pause button or just rewind to catch up and save this video to your library so you can rewatch if you need extra practice. It is more of an advanced or intermediate tutorial this week, so don't be hard on yourself. Just rewind and try again. Today we'll be using all 3 brushes found in Procreate. And don't forget, once you finish this entire video, to share it on Instagram and tag me in the image as well as in the description so I can find your artwork and feature you here in the next Draw Together video. So for this video, there's no need for a color palette. We're just going to be using black or charcoal as it's just going to be more of a sketch drawing. But you will find in the description below a link there to the goodie bag where you can grab some free goodies if you haven't already, and also support me by visiting my shop. So let's get to it. Grab your pen and we're going to set up this canvas, and it's going to be 4000 by 4000 pixels, 300 dpi, and RGB. So like I said, we're just using black or charcoal color, whatever you prefer, and I'm going to be sticking pretty much with my 6B pencil. So not too complicated today. Well, the subject matter is, but not what pens and pencils we're going to be using. So what I'm going to show you first actually is just some basic principles on proportions of a face. So here we have a very simple, just basic face with no hair. And you can see that when you turn on these lines here, the eyes are always going to be relatively within the center of the face. Of course, these are all general guidelines, and of course, if you're doing characters, things can be exaggerated in all different ways. But the basic proportion would be, if you measure from the very, very top of the skull to the bottom of the chin, the center of the eyes will be in the center. So with that in mind, we can break down the rest of the face by going by approximately on the forehead where the hairline would be. So if you're starting with your hair here, because of course this would go back, right? That's the top. That makes sense. That's a lovely hairstyle. That would be where the hairline is. So from there, you can break it down into thirds. So where that would be where your eyebrows would hit. Once you know where your eyes are, that's usually kind of easier to figure out. And that would be, another third would be the bottom of the nose, and the other third would be the bottom of the chin. Again, approximate. So, and then we can go and break it down even further from the bottom of the nose. If you break that into thirds, will be the center of the lips, the beginning of the cleft of the chin, and then the actual chin itself. So that gives you an idea just how to break it down a little bit. Hopefully that makes sense. And of course, there's always room for interpretation as well. So let's turn that off. So I'm going to start just by turning back on this layer that had these lines, and if you remember, that was the top of the skull, center of the eyes, and the bottom of the chin, just to give me a little bit of a guideline of my sizing of things and where I'm going to go. So I've made a new layer, and I'm just going to start by doing sort of an angular, soft, rounded shape. Bring that down a little bit. And again on the other side. Just a rounded shape. And you can see my pen is at 50%, 100% opacity. Again, that's the 6B pencil. So just trying to figure out where these are going to go. I can just erase them since I've made a big old mess here. They're getting in like that. Okay, so just trying to get the similar angles here. A little bit of a jelly bean shape, and this one needs to go a little bit lower, something like that. Good stuff. So the other tool I'm going to actually be using is the Smudge Tool, and it's going to be on Vine Charcoal, and that's found in your charcoals section. And this way we'll use it kind of like a blender brush if you've ever worked with just like regular pencils and stuff, and you can have like a little blender smudge tool. So this is going to act like that. So I'm going to bring the brush size down to, let's see, where are we at? Not that. We're going to bring it down to about 8%, and I'm gonna have it at about 80% opacity. And that way we're just gonna be able to smudge this out a little bit like that. Just kind of get this, kind of this shape here. Just gonna erase that little tag there. Whoops. Get our smudge tool back on. So they don't have to be exact. Nobody's eyes are exactly the same, as you know, so that's okay. We just want them similar. Okay, so that gives us an idea where our eyes are going to be. And then I'm gonna go back to my 6B pencil. I know my chin is here, and I know the top of my head is here. So I'm gonna turn back on these guides here, and now I kind of know where my eyebrows are going to be and where the end of my nose is going to be. So I'm just gonna make a little mark there. And I kind of know where my eyebrows are going to be because, of course, if I've established my eyes, then that's sort of easier. So I actually don't really need to mark that. But let's just mark where the bottom of the nose is. That's kind of nice to see. And I can turn these lines off as well. Okay, so now we have an alien-looking thing. So I think these eyes are a little bit too far apart already. So I'm going to click on my little S squiggly shape here, have it on freehand and add, and I'm just going to draw around it. Click on my pointer and drag it over just a bit here. I'm going to do it again to the other one as well, just to keep this sorted here. Okay, so then I'm going to go and take my pencil again, my 6B, and I'm going to start working on these eyes a little bit more. So I know I like a little cat eye, so I'm going to bring this out to just this little corner here, zoom in for you, and start making this shape like so. Just pulling it up and over. Again, just a bit sketchy, and keep it relatively loose at this time. And I'm actually going to darken this in because that'll be part of her makeup and shadow and all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to go back to my smudge tool and smudge away. Actually, I'm going to bring it a little bit smaller to maybe 4. That's better. Just get in there like that. Keep that rounded. And just smudge out those lines a bit. Looking good stuff. All right, just keep on basically going back and forth between a little defining, a little smudging. So back and forth. Okay. So then I'm going to probably bring this down a little bit. Just a little. And kind of hinting at that crease below, or behind rather, what am I saying? Like so. Might be too moody, but we'll have this look. All right, and then I can bring in where the eyes would be. Now you don't want the top of the circle to show. That would look a little crazy. Little crazy eyes. So it's gonna be like that. So it would be behind here over there underneath where the lid is. And again, I'm just gonna shade it in for now and try to do approximately the same thing on the other side. Shading it in. And smudging it out. Okay, noticing that this needs to be better success on the other side with the circle, but that's better. Okay. So you can start to see some eyes happening. That might be a little bit too on the catty side. We can fix that. So I'm going to carry on with my 6B and just bring this up a little bit so it's a little bit, hold on, flatter. I can just erase this down here. So that's a little bit better, like that. Trying to keep these more or less in the same line. It's always helpful. So yeah, just erasing and then doing a little bit smudging just to fix those shapes there. This can still go up a little bit, I think. And bringing that in. All right. Okay, so that's good. Let's go and just kind of get an idea of where the nose is. So for the nose, I'm going to just erase that, but I know where it is, and just give a little triangle, like so. No, we're not drawing a cat. I know we got cat eyes, but bear with me here. I'm gonna draw a little triangle, shade it in. And because normally if we're working with regular pencils, you wouldn't have to do this part so much because the blender would work, but just do a little sort of semicircle on the top. Get your blender, blend this, blend it out, soften it up, and then bring around that circle there. Hopefully I've gotten this relatively straight. I don't think I do. So right-handed, everything always ends up on an angle. But we can go into our little S squiggle, circle it, and whoops, I'm gonna actually take this off of snapping because I won't need it right now. So you go to snapping and turn off magnetics, and then I can do this freehand. Okay, so that's better. Right. And I'm actually going to go back to my S tool, grab that, and I'm going to make it a smidgy bigger. Okay. And then I'm going to just do two little little moons here. Like so. Give them a little smudge. On the one side, and just bring those like that, and then again two little half moons on the sides to create those folds there, and give it a smudge just a little bit. Okay, so that's not too bad. Nose, we can see what's going on there. And then let's go and remember that this can be done into thirds. So 1, 2. So line here, the chin would be here, the middle of the mouth would be about there approximately. So I'm just gonna delete that. And for a mouth, we're just gonna give us a little bit of a line here. It's not gonna be totally straight. Do two little beans like this, and then it's gonna just be a little scoop. Actually, I think I've made those a little bit too far, but I'm gonna bring them in just a smidge. Little beans like this, Then we're gonna have a little scoop here. Scoop and line, just kind of something like that. And then I'm going to bring this about here. Depends on what you want, so it's just gonna be rounded shape here. And I think I'm gonna give her a widow's peak, or not a widow's peak, what are they called? They're just gonna have a, oh yes, a bowed lip, a peaky lips. Something like that. Maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe I'm gonna go a little bit more subtle with the peaks. Can play with this a bit. And I'm gonna shade those in. Just using the side of my pen sleeve, and you can get that shaded effect too, which is kind of nice. Getting my smudger and blending this, you guessed it. Blending away. So you don't want it unless you're going for a certain look, you don't want to have like super hard edges on the outside of the lips. I'm gonna just bring this in too. They've gone, just been a little bit messy with her lipstick here. So you don't want to be too hard edges. You just want to have that relatively soft, unless you have some serious lip liner going on. Okay, and then we can go and just continue to define this some more. So kind of more focusing out on the center with these, and just back and forth, more defining, more smudging. Smudging out those little beans too. Okay, so typically the light would be from above, or probably not so much below, so the bottom lip would be a little bit darker. So I'm going to do that just to kind of create those shadows. Okay. And then just keep on defining. And smudging. And you can do this little line thing here, so it's kind of like a line up, up, and then down the middle. Those are sort of the way the creases typically will go if you have really plump lips. All right, something like that. Doesn't have to be too over exaggerated, but and maybe just a little bit more on the bottom here. I'm not going to go, like I said, all the way around. It's just going to be on little parts of it, just to get the right shadowing effect. She might need a little bit more definition over here, so we can just lightly shade that in and smudge it out. Okay, so we have some eyes, nose, and lips. That's good. The eyes still need quite a bit of work, but why don't we go and give her some eyebrows, just sort of place them, and they're gonna be where they naturally would be. I'm not gonna make any major expression here, so just gonna keep these kind of subtle, just shading, just using the sides of my pen to create a little shadow here. And typically the eyebrows would be just a little bit in from the inner eye, lined up with the outer nose, and then where as us ladies know when we are tweezing our eyebrows, we know where our arch is going to be in the center of the pupil. It's basically like a line like this. So that's where the top of your arch would naturally be. If you have an arched eyebrow, I suppose. Not everybody has the highest arch, but that is typically where you would find it. It's always fun to attempt to do the same thing on the other side, isn't it? Great if I was ambidextrous. Okay, so of course we're gonna take our smudger and just give that a smudge. All right. Got something going here. That does not need to go crazy like that. Just erase that, oops, and get your smudgy and just get in there. Okay, so that's good for now. All right. I think we're ready to do some more eye definition. What do you think? Let's do it. So I'm going back to my 6B. I'm gonna go and just get this crease more readily defined here. Smudge. All right. And smudge it out. Oops, silly me. If you feel like you've done it too much, like it's still too dark, you can kind of smudge in the white on the top too, to get rid of it a little bit. So that's a little tip there. Okay. That's gonna figure out where her pupils are going to be. I think right, well, hopefully in the center, right? We're gonna do about there. About there. Woo, she looks kind of crazy. Okay, and I'm gonna smudge those up too, of course. And then let's start sort of defining this lash line here. I'm not going to smudge it up quite as much. At some point I will get her to look a little bit more defined, otherwise it looks like we've misplaced our glasses. Can't see properly. All right, maybe just get this eye looking a little bit more eye-like. Okay. It's back and forth. Good. Smudge it up. Keep making this eye quite square looking. I gotta get this more rounded here. There. That's getting in there, but I still feel it's very, not as much as the other eye, don't you think? So keep going. Okay. All right. So back to our brush, and let's just get her lower. Now, we all know we've got this little bit of a lid here to our eyelids that is lighter. Oops. That comes in here, and then so we can see that little lip. So I'm gonna make sure you add that. So that's where the lashes will start from here, not from here, right? So make sure that you got that little bit, that little ledge in there. Trying to make it the same. The other side's always the challenge. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna actually add another layer, excuse me, just for the eyelashes, so I can always go in behind to do makeup and stuff without wrecking my eyelashes. So add another layer on top, and this is where we'll start this part. Now, lashes are not gonna go straight out like that. They're gonna scoop up, right? They're gonna come down. They don't just stick straight out from your eye line. So try to remember that when you're doing it. So the little guys are gonna come down at the bottom, and they're just gonna sort of clip together a little bit like in a little triangular shape quite often. And you can kind of push a little bit with your brush, like so it's a little bit narrower at the top, or at the begin, or excuse me, it's thicker at the beginning and narrower when you're finishing. So and I am going to smudge these out just a little bit, just subtly, and then go back in and define them a little bit. Just a touch. Just being really soft here. Okay. And then we're gonna do the bigger lashes, and we're gonna have them come up from there. I mean, she's gonna have some fabulous makeup, of course, so we're gonna give her that. Scooping, maybe a little bit of clumps. And they're gonna be turning, so of course these ones aren't gonna be going that way, right? They're gonna be going this way. And these are gonna be a little bit smaller, if I can get a nice scoopy line. Because they're gonna be going around the eye, right? So a bit thicker at the base and thinner near the ends. We'll give you that look. I'm going to smudge them just a little bit. And going back in and I'm defining them even more. Again, focusing more at the lash line, just to really have that thicker and darker. It'll look a little bit more natural. Not that we're going for an exactly realistic picture, but it'll help give a nice look. Okay, so I'm gonna go and do it on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my other layer, because that, as you can see, is that layer, which is great because then I can go underneath and smudge and make mistakes and I don't have to worry about my eyelashes being all erect. So back to the regular layer, and still sticking with our 6B, still same things here. And I'm just gonna keep going and making things more defined. So I'm just gonna give her some more liner here. I'm gonna smudge that. Just really getting that nice heavy lash line. Okay, that's good. Going to give her some liner underneath as well. So just maybe on 3/4 of that area. Smudging that out. Okay. I get into this. I think this is going to be darker over here. It's going to go in more like that. Okay, let's just start getting the eye more defined. Getting that. And again, with this, just like the lips, the eyes aren't going to be an exact hard line either. They're going to be a little bit softer, just a touch. So be conscious of that. Not everything needs to be hard or soft, or not everything has to be hard edges or soft edges. You kind of want a combination of both. And I think this pupil here needs to be a bit bigger. Match the other one. So we can come in and do some, you know, little lines. You can make these as detailed as you want, of course. I don't think I'm going to go too crazy today. That will be, I'm sure, another tutorial how to do some eyes, but just get some lines going, and you kind of want to make them so they are showing that the eye is round. We want them curving a little bit in the direction that the eye is going. So I'm not going to go overboard, but we're just going to give her a little bit of detail. And this is an option. You can stay on this layer if you choose, or you can do another layer. I like to, just again, so I can make sure I can smudge more things. I'm gonna underneath, so I'm gonna go and have a layer on top of that original layer. I'm just gonna shade underneath this lash line because it is going to cast a shadow, and that's really important. It'll help make her look less hypnotic. And just smudge that out. And that really sets the eye back in there where it should be. I don't know if you've noticed, the whites of my eyes aren't particularly white at all. They are certainly a shade of gray, which is really important. They'll look a little bit crazy if they were totally white. Okay, so you can see, let me show you how that makes a big difference, right? Getting those in there. Okay, so I can also go on another layer. I'm going to actually do it below. So on top of your main layer, I'm going to do another layer, and I'm going to do some white highlights. So we're just going to give her some highlights here. And it'll be the same on the other side. And then because the light is coming from here, we're going to give her a little bit here as well. It's hitting the other side of the eye. And you can smudge this one out. I leave this one crisp and this one can be smudged out. Okay, so that's giving a nice effect. And while we're here with our white, I can just go and just give a little bit here, the tear duct. I'm going to go in and define this more, but I've got our white going here, so it's going to kind of come in and hit that. And we're also going to have some little bits along the ledge. So you can just do a little along this ledge here. And that creates sort of, you know, looking like you've got some water a little bit in your eyes, that your eyes are moist and shiny. It's weird, I hate that word. All right, I'm gonna go back using the black, go back to my regular layer and just come in here and give just a little, I don't want this too defined, but give it a little bit, this little tear duct here. Give it a little smudge, give it a little shade. Oops, a little bit too much, just because it's going to be a slightly darker value. And that's how you do that guy. Right in there, just give it a shade, give it a little smudge. And that's your tear duct. So I can see that this one over here is a little bit lower, so I'll smooth that up a bit. Okay, so that's looking all right. I still think these pupils need a little bit of work, a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna smudge them just a little bit. Still, I think I need more here. This one, I still think he's a little bit too small. A little bit too low. And just giving this just a few spots where it's a little bit crisper, just to bring this into focus a little bit more. Just a few touches. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now we should probably get her eyebrows going just a touch. So we can just do a few little hairs. So up here, and then you can kind of angle it and carry on this way a little bit more, maybe a little bit too dark. So just a few up at the beginnings, first ones, and then really get angled in here. That's an easy way to do it. And then bring them down. And I'm just going to smudge slightly, still keeping some of those lines, but just to build it up, because then I'm going to go back over again with my pencil and do a few more here. Just a few layers. Okay. I think this is just a smidgy over. Too much. Okay. Right, and then give it a smudge. Okay, and then go back and define it again. I think I'm making this one a little bit furrier. Oops. Okay, so I think I'm going to give her a little bit, slightly a little bit more shadow here, just the side of my pen just above the fold, just a little bit here. Let's see how this looks. Smudging it up. Just so that you can see that this eyelid is a little bit more, or a little bit lighter, and you have that shadow there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So above the fold, above the crease, and then blending upwards. Okay, and I'm gonna go just make that crease more noticeable again. Made it a little bit too flat there, so round. Good. And just that guy. Keep making it kind of flat. Oops. Okay, and there's one crease I've forgotten. We all do actually have a crease under our eye normally, regardless of age. Some of us more than others. So we'll just put this little guy in here too. Smudge him out. And just go back in again. Oops. Smudge it out again. You might have a few lines there. Keep drawing on her head, poor girl. It's a little too dark. Okay, and just getting that smudged in there. Maybe you have a line here. Okay. All right, I think I need a little bit, just a touch. Keep smudging. Okay, I think that's good enough for the eyes for today, and we can go back. I think her lips need a little bit more definition, and I'm just gonna make sure I can see the parts here. So I'm just gonna do that line, smudge it out, just getting that part between the two lips pronounced. And I'm going to do some highlights too, so hang on for that. Okay. So, you know, you've noticed that it's just about layering back and forth, smudge and define, and just leaving a little bit more definition as you go, every pass. And I'm gonna do a little shadow down here. It's because that lip will cast a shadow. See how this looks. Smudge that out. All right, looking okay. Okay, so now it's time to draw that face. So we had our little marks here, and I'm going to just finish up this face here. So I'm gonna just get where her chin is and just come in here. Approximately like that. And we'll give her some ears. So the ears are going to come right around where the nose ends and just above the eyes. Something like that. May or may not see them when we put the hair on, but we'll give her some. And yeah, I mean, I'm just going to indicate this just because obviously we're going to put the hair over top, so we know where it is. This might have gone a little bit too far over here. Oops. Just gonna go out a little bit more over on this side. Okay. You can just smudge this out a little bit because I'll just not have it too sharp at the moment. I will sharpen it up though, but it'll just create a little bit of a shadow. And for her ear, I'm just going to do a little line here and a line, a little thing like that. Shade it in. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on ears today. This is just a face, so we'll just concentrate on that. Otherwise, this video is going to go forever. All right, and well, I suppose it would be kind of us to give her a neck as well. And I'm just going to blend that a little bit too, just keep our lines soft right now. Okay, now on a separate layer on the top, I'm going to just draw our hair. I will do, I'm sure in the future, some sort of hair tutorial, but just for today, we'll keep it fairly simple. So I'm just gonna give her a part way over on the side. Oops, helps if I have my pen. Just gonna do that. And then we'll do a swoop over the eye. Oh, see, there goes that ear. Just kind of... Oh, actually, why don't we give her a ponytail? I'll keep that. Tip of that ear there. And your bangs would be like that. And just give her a ponytail coming out the side here. Maybe in front of her neck there. Something like that. I'm going to bump up the size of my pen here to 70. That's a bit easier to work with for hair. Just gonna get a little bit of just color on here so it's not completely blank. All right. What I'm actually going to do is, because I have hair coming over her face, I am going to duplicate that face layer, and I'm going to turn off the one behind, and I'm going to duplicate the eyelash layer, and actually the shadowing as well. And I'm going to bring them all together, so I'm going to line them all up. I'm going to turn off these ones below, and I'm actually going to merge these all together. Actually, like I said, turn those all off. I duplicate that so that I'm not working destructively, so I can go back and change those, or change your hairstyle if I needed to. Just I didn't want to erase half her eye, just in case I change my mind or make a mistake. Just so that we can do this, because we're working on multiple layers. We don't want to see that behind. Here we go. I think this is actually going to be a little bit further back here. blending it out a little bit. I don't want to see every single hair. We're just gonna give it just an idea today. Just so we can finish it. I don't want to put this up and it looks incomplete. I'm going to take my eraser and just sharpen up this line here so it doesn't look too fuzzy. Okay, we'll just keep working at that a little bit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll do. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my face layer. Actually, I'm going to do a layer on top of my face layer here. Just to do a little bit of shadowing, a little bit of just getting this face jawline just to match the rest of it a little bit. Sharpening that edge. Of course, you wouldn't have a fuzzy shoulder. So I've made a little bit of a mistake. I realized I've been drawing on the face layer, almost the hair, but that's okay. I'll just combine them. I'll just merge them down. It doesn't really matter at this point. So just in case you're wondering if my layers looked a little bit different than yours. I'm just gonna soften this hair a bit more. I'm just trying to make it all look similar to the rest of the face that we've drawn. We don't have a lot of harsh lines, so I'm just trying to make it all be cohesive. But of course, I can also go in and just bolden up some of my lines that have gotten a little bit too soft. Maybe a few key parts just to sharpen it up a little bit. It is a character drawing after all. It's really important just to keep looking at your artwork, step back. Oftentimes, because I'm working like this, it's actually kind of hard for me to see because I have the camera above me, so I like to tilt it up so I can actually see it straight on. It really, really helps because sometimes you miss a couple of things. So looking away, coming back, just taking a step back and seeing where you at. You do get a little bit of blind to it sometimes. That's a little bit too much. All right, we're almost at the part that I love the most. Putting in some little highlights always makes it pop nice. All right, let's see. That eyebrow just needs to be a little bit bigger. I still think her eyes just need a little bit. Oh, I know why they look funny to me. It's because I've gotten the whites, like I was saying about the highlights. I Didn't duplicate that layer, but that's all right. Here we go, we'll put it back. Just gonna define this mouth just a little bit more. Okay, so now you go, you can always just go on the very top layer, grab a white color. Sorry, we're gonna do this again. Just give her these whites here, pop those back as they were before. Oh, you know, I'm gonna show you my mistakes, guys. I make a lot. It doesn't matter normally because nobody's watching, but you know, it's okay. Who wants to? Nobody's perfect. I just try to, like I said before, work as non-destructively as possible, so when I do make these mistakes, it's not the end of the world. There. Now, her eyes look more like they were before. So I'm gonna give her a little bit of a highlight even in here. We did that tear duct. Got that going. Have a little bit on this edge here. That really pops it. Maybe we'll give her, look like she's got a few little bit of sparkles on her upper lid. It's always good. A little bit of lights in here. Just gonna soften those ones on the inside. Okay, and I'm gonna give her a little bit of a hint of white on her nose and the lips. So I'm just gonna build this up, just kind of a jaggedy line here, like that. And then I'm gonna smooth that out. Oops. Smoothing it out, and then go over it again. Smooth it out again a little bit, and then give some brighter marks there. And then I'm going to just do a little bit just at the top. She might be wearing some gloss, I'm sure. That's not quite right. Good. Let's see if we give her a little highlight on her hair too. And certainly not necessary, but we can give her a little bit of shadow. I'm going to go back to that shadow layer. You know, this is up to you how much this kind of detail you want to do. You know, if you want to give her the shadow under her chin and all that kind of stuff. And of course you do that, then you're going to have a shadow over here. You know, it keeps going, so it depends how flat or realistic you want it to look. I'm just going to be somewhat subtle with it here. There would be a shadow going underneath the hair too. Just gives it a little bit more depth. Just doing subtly the bridge of the nose. I don't want her to be, okay, you keep doing this stuff and then it's gonna look too realistic, and then of course her eyes are quite big, so it'll start to look a little bit wonky if you go overboard, but We can do some. It all depends on the look you want. All right, I think that's good for today. I mean, you know how it is. You can keep going and going and going forever. Yeah, I might keep doing it after I turn off the video, but so that's it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can be notified of all the new tutorials just like this one in the future. I post one every single Tuesday. So again, thanks for watching. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.